Welcome back to the Ed Morrissey Show. Today is Friday, Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day to all of our veterans in our audience. God bless you for the service that you've done for our country and for other services that you're still doing for our country, being honorable veterans that you are. Two of them, at least two of them, on our staff at Hot Air. Beach Wellborn, Marine, and Jazz Shaw, Navy. And so happy Veterans Day to both of them as well. And happy Veterans Day to Duane Generalissimo Patterson of the Hugh Hewitt Show, master of the Universe, HUGHNIVERC.com, the troll-free web surfing experience for Hugh Hewitt fans and listeners. We've had some news, not just this week, but really literally within the last hour or so, Duane. Where would you like to start?
What we are hopefully witnessing right now is we are witnessing Donald Trump floundering in the water, trying to grab for the life vest and drowning his rescuer. Look, what's going on right now is the desperate act of somebody trying to stay relevant. Look, I understand that it flies in the face of conventional wisdom. Donald Trump is Donald Trump. So if he decides to run, he's automatically going to win the primary by acclamation. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it at all at this point. Look, there's two things that we can have as takeaways from the midterms thus far. And I tweeted this. I kind of alluded to it in a VIP column on Hot Air this week, but yesterday I may expand more on it on Monday. But look, there's two takeaways. Number one, I think a lot of Republicans, a lot of conservatives underestimated how much of an impact the Dobbs decision had on juicing turnout in different pockets of the country amongst women and Democrat voters. We underestimated that. And as you pointed out a couple of days ago in my after show, when you saw the exit polling that showed that, right up there at the top of the list of issues that were of import were the abortion question, you knew that, we're in trouble. Now, on that issue, if that's one of the two takeaways, me as a pro-lifer, me as a conservative, I'm happy to pay the price if it's even if it's a short and medium term price. I am willing to pay that price for constitutionally righting a wrong with the Roe v. Wade and Casey decisions, which were a constitutional travesty. If it meant that we watered down our own political interests for the sake of getting the Constitution right, I'm all for it. I don't think there's as much long-term damage. I really don't, because I think that conservatives and pro-lifers will eventually refine their message, and they can get to where the American people are, which is moving their direction decade by decade, year by year. I think eventually that issue will play more into a Republican's hands than it will the militant leftist hands, which is all abortion all the time, even up to the point of delivery. And in Montana's case now, even after delivery, if the kid survives the abortion and they're on the table.
Well, that was terrible. That was really bad.
So the left has taken it to an extreme level, and I just over time don't think that's where the American people are at, and won't be as we keep going. So that's one part of the equation, one part of the takeaway. The other part of the takeaway is, my gracious, everyone, almost to a person, every one of Donald Trump's prime candidates, his picks,
the primary candidates, right? The ones that he pushed in the primary, right? Challenging other Republicans in those primaries.
The ones that Donald Trump kind of through sheer force of will got through the primary process, in many cases, along with Democratic voters who played Operation Chaos very well. Those candidates all underperformed. Even J.D. Vance, who I like a lot, and I'm glad that he's going to be in the United States Senate, he underperformed Mike DeWine in Ohio by what? 15 points?
I
mean,
want
it
to
was
say
a
it was
lot.
closer to 10, but yeah, I mean, it was a significant amount, right? Because I think DeWine ended up winning by like 16 points. Am I right about that?
He won by a ton and a half.
Yeah, it was not close. And in the end, Vance's race wasn't really that close over Ryan. There were like 7 points.
It was outside of margin of error, but
Yeah.
he still underperformed where he could have been. Dr. Oz, even though he became a very good campaigner in the last couple of months and really honed his message, and I think was doing as well as he could not overcome the hurdle of the Trump Association #1 and the carpetbagging issue, which, according to exit polling, carpetbagging was more important than John Fetterman not being able to form a sentence. So,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, to a certain extent, you can say, well, if you'd run Dave McCormick in that race,
you win that race.
You probably win that race. But on the other hand, you're still dealing with an electorate that would rather elect a brain damaged cipher than a guy who actually is compos mentis, right?
Yes.
And so I mean,
and we're not even talking about Doug Mastriano, which
well, I think that was actually the bigger issue on that ballot,
which was another Trump special.
Yeah. I think Oz actually acquitted himself fairly well as a candidate in the long run. But I think Mastriano at the top of the ticket is what did a lot of the damage. I don't think Josh Shapiro would have ever lost that race. Would never have lost that race. But you take a look at neighboring New York and you see what Lee Zeldin's extremely competent campaign
did to 5 other GOP pickups.
That's right.
In the House, yes.
Yeah. Although redistricting had something to do with that, but still Sean Patrick Maloney lost a D+9 district as the DCC chair, which hasn't happened in 42 years.
Correct.
Mind you. So
there were elements out there. There was possibilities of a wave actually happening.
Yes.
And what
in New York, you saw it in New York.
You saw it in New York. You definitely saw it in Florida. You saw it in pockets in Texas.
Well, I think largely in Texas. The only real disappointment was the Rio Grande Valley, which I thought the Republicans would sweep, but they didn't.
The turd in the punch bowl was Maya Flores losing down at the border.
Again, who also ran a very good campaign. It's just she did the best she could.
Correct.
But I think that's
look out there.
Issues like I think that's where issues like abortion may have played a part too.
Right. But look out in Arizona
at the top of the ticket.
Arizona, Kerry Lake and Blake Masters are both severely underperforming. Even though Adam Laxalt's up for now, I'm growing increasingly pessimistic because
I was more optimistic on your show than I'm going to be on mine about Laxalt.
Yeah, they're going to keep dumping. They're going to keep finding mail in Clark County until that thing flips.
I'm telling you that this is a whole other issue, right? Because they've been doing this. It's the same system that they've had for years in Nevada. This isn't new for Nevada. It's not new for Arizona either. But I mean, they're going to have to figure out a way to count ballots faster.
Well, actually, I mean, if Democrats keep winning there, no, they're not.
Well, yeah, true. Because it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that it's taking this long.
They don't care.
They
don't care as long as they keep winning. That's what the problem is. But again, you name every one of these candidates that Donald Trump ginned up a special on, and what we're going to be left with probably by the time we get to when we talk next week is we're hoping against hope that Donald Trump seizes up somewhere, stays out of Georgia, and God intervenes and somehow pushes Herschel Walker over so that we can get back to a 50-50 tie. That's now what the prospects are looking like. Yeah. And so what does Donald Trump do? He takes out yesterday on Ron DeSantis, who was busy doing his job as a governor as a hurricane was sweeping the eastern part and spine of Florida.
Right.
What does Donald Trump now? What cardinal sins did Ron DeSantis do to earn the premeditated first strike of Donald Trump?
Remember, let's not forget that strike actually took place last week. right? The Ron DeSanctimonious thing took place last week at a
Oh yeah,
rally.
it
It was
at a
it's
rally for a candidate in which Ron DeSantis had previously flown up there and campaigned for.
right. Well, I wouldn't
So
blame that on the candidate. That was just Donald
no,
Trump.
no.
Yeah.
I understand, but what I'm saying is here are the three cardinal sins that Ron DeSantis committed to earn the wrath and the ire of Donald Trump. Number one, he traveled all over the country and campaigned for Trump chosen candidates. Boy, you can't do that and not pay the price for that.
Right.
Number two, he never once said a bad word about Donald Trump in public. Boy,
No.
we can't have that either. And number three, he dared to win in the biggest bright spot of the Republican cycle on Tuesday night by winning in such a robust, sound fashion and earning minority vote and just showing everybody how to do it. That was the unforgivable sin. So Donald Trump, who is the counterpuncher in chief, right? He if you don't mess with him, he won't mess with you. But if you mess with him, he'll counterpunch with the best of them. What exactly was the first blow there?
Well, the first blow was the fact that Ron DeSantis was tremendously successful in converting Florida from a blue-edged purple state 4 years ago into a Republican's
Blood
own
red.
club. Yeah, blood red in just 4 years. He did that in just 4 years. And well, you can't have that.
and
I'll tell you, you want to know what the real sin was? The real sin was the New York Post putting DeSantis's picture up on the front page with the headline, "The Future."
Yep.
That's Donald Trump's favorite newspaper. It's part of the Murdoch empire too, which is sort of part of the story this week too.
Which you're right. It's his favorite paper, but it's like a hate. It's like a hate read. I mean, he hate loves the New York Post, right?
I think he hate loves the New York Times. I think up to this point, it's more been like love loves the New York Post. And that's the reason why that stung. And I guarantee you that was the triggering event that started the rant last night. Now, the rant last night, if you read the rant last night, it's kind of typical Donald Trump. Oh, Ron DeSantis was nothing. He was a loser before he came to me. He was crying and whining that he needed help, and I helped him out. I'm the one who created his success, and without me, he'd be a loser. Look, that's standard. That's almost boilerplate Donald Trump. I mean, it's the only thing really objectionable about that. The two things that are objectionable about one is just not true, but the other is the timing of it. I mean, we kind of expected to hear this after the first of the year, right?
Oh, but no, but there was objectionable content. The objectionable content was Donald Trump going after Ron DeSantis for closing down Florida for the pandemic.
Well, yeah. Again, though, trying to shove off his own sins onto others. Again, sort of standard Donald Trump.
I mean, that's even worse than Joe Biden's history redefining that's been going on the last year and a half. I mean, well,
they're fairly equal in that. The problem that the reason why Republicans get irritated about the way Biden's handled is that the media won't cover Biden the way that they covered Donald Trump.
Right.
I mean, they're two peas in the same pod when it comes to the truth. I mean, it's just this has been, for that matter, so was Barack Obama, right?
So
if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. If you like your plan, you can keep your plan.
Right.
Right. I mean, and that's a lie that mattered. That's a lie that actually mattered.
Right.
But still, the stuff with Ron DeSantis was pretty much typical Trump. The big objection to this last night was the timing of this. It was really inappropriate timing. We still have a runoff election in Georgia, for instance, so we don't need
we have a runoff. Number two, again, there was a hurricane that was hitting the state, and what is Ron DeSantis doing? He's supposed to take the bait and stop what he's doing as a hurricane's hitting and trade jabs with Trump and descend into the swamp. No, he's not going to do that. It's just insanity.
But the worst one was the one this morning, right?
Okay, now
the worst one was the one aimed at Glenn Youngkin.
Yeah, now here's
of all people who wasn't even in the mix, really.
Okay. Now here's the thing about Glenn Youngkin. Okay, I've been saying this on the after show for a good month and a half, maybe 2 months. And I'm just a dopey radio producer, right? My 2 cents is worth just that 2 cents. My political analysis is worth just as much, but it's not hard to see what is taking shape as far as potential people getting in and getting out, and how the 24
Yeah.
states are gonna sweep up. Outside of Trump, the top contender for the Republicans is Ron DeSantis. Everyone knows this, right?
I'd actually argue at this point the top contender is Ron DeSantis.
Is Ron DeSantis.
Right.
And that's part of the reason for the screed. But again, if Donald Trump gets in, he's the black swan event. God only knows what's going to happen. But still, Ron DeSantis is the top of the pack, right? If something happens to Ron DeSantis, the guy I've been saying, and it's not hard to see this coming, the guy with the best case to make, and I've been doing this series of the case for and against all these different people, and I've been trying to stay objective and be neutral on it. But now I'm putting on my just straight analyst hat of where reality is. If for whatever reason DeSantis, being the front runner, gets all the slings and arrows and he has his 15 minutes in the front, even before he announces he's going, everybody starts carving at him, including Trump on his own side, and he falters for whatever reason.
Right.
Guy that's laying in the weeds, that's going to come out of nowhere and could mount a campaign like that and show the way to do it is Glenn Youngkin. Why?
Yeah,
because he just won a blue state and turned it red, and did it by appealing to independents and moms and widening the base
and avoiding the MAGA entanglements, avoiding the 2020 entanglements.
He got the MAGA vote to vote for him. He also got the school moms and the Nova, Northern Virginia moms, even independents, even Democratic voting moms. He got them because he resonated with the issue, and he did it in a winsome way without pissing them off. He showed how to win in a blue state. And looking at how the map went on Tuesday night, you think maybe winning a blue state or two might come in handy in 2024. Maybe we might want to have somebody with gubernatorial experience that has shown he can get things done and do so in a way that could be appealing in a blue state. Glenn Youngkin's a guy that's out there that could jump in a second. He's not going to be the first one to announce. He would be one of the last ones to announce.
Yeah.
But if he feels like the field is all of a sudden faltering and he sees a path, he could jump in a second. I see this. Every political analyst in America can see this.
Well, clearly Trump sees it too. I mean,
Trump sees it too, so that's why he goes after him this morning. So how does he go? How does he go after him?
He makes a reference to his name sounding Chinese, which is insane. It's just insane. And it was just pointed out on Twitter, by the way, the name Young Kin, because he spelled it Young and then Kin, right? Yeah. Well, there's also a Young Kim, who
who is a Republican that I just voted for, who is my congresswoman,
right?
And
she's Korean. Or Korean American, I should say. She's Korean American. She's an American of Korean descent,
and is a damn fine conservative.
And is a conservative. I mean, I didn't even think about that when my post just
I did
talking about this.
I did.
Yeah, Young Kin that's an interesting take. Sounds Chinese, doesn't it? That's the lead of his tweet on Truth Social this morning. Got picked up. It's getting passed around. I don't want to talk about this for the entire podcast, right? Because I think part of the issue here is that Trump just really wants to suck the oxygen out of the room and make himself the story.
Yeah, but you know what?
The week and the story of the month.
He's going supernova and he's going to implode.
I think he's already imploding. You're seeing people who would normally be out defending him. This was after the Ron DeSantis thing last night, who were saying, we really need to rethink this.
Do you know who he is in the process of losing right now? Daily Wire, entire and Daily Wire.
I saw Ben Shapiro's reaction to. I saw Ben Shapiro's reaction to this morning's tweet or Truth Social.
Ben Shapiro was like,
It's like that Jonah Hill thing. Yeah, no. He's not doing this. He's saying, what the F.
Yes,
He's not being quiet about it. He's saying
our mutual friend Kurt Schlichter, who has been a fierce defender of Donald Trump, went to Nevada 2 years ago to try to fight in overtime and do legal work, looking at the ballot irregularities. He's like, I'm done. No. There's lots of people that are Trump supporters that are bailing out on Trump over this because their plan B was Ron DeSantis, and Ron DeSantis didn't do anything wrong. And they're looking at Tuesday night going, why would you be dumping on the one bright spot we had Tuesday night? It's just the one I'm waiting to see is Mark Levin. Mark Levin by Wednesday night into Thursday morning was still saying, you establishment people, they're trying to make this all about Trump and saying that his candidates didn't do well. You're missing the point. It's McConnell, it's McCarthy. He's
I read Levin's tweets on this, and
you
I think
kind of mixed up. Didn't you mix it up with him a little bit too?
No, I didn't mix it up with him.
Okay.
No, because I thought he made some good points.
Right. However, I would love to see. He's been radio silent since the screed last night, and I haven't seen him this morning. I'm genuinely curious to see Mark Levin try to defend Trump on this. Say, well, he's right, because there's not a lot of people out there that are saying he's right. Now, there's the fever swamp that are only Trumpers. I'm not talking never Trumpers. I'm not talking about MAGA people. There's a section of the Republican base that are only Trumpers, meaning it's either Trump or nothing, and there's no substitute. If it's not Trump on the ballot or a Trump designated candidate on the ballot, count me out. I'm not going to vote. There's a chunk of them that Trump's going to take with him, even if he goes off and does an independent campaign if he doesn't get the nomination. But what I think is happening, what we're seeing here, is you're going to see a clearing of the field. I think people like Pompeo. I wouldn't even be surprised if people like Mike Pence, who was going to get, he's going to get in the game. He wants to get into the game, even though I don't think he's got a prayer. At some point, you're seeing enough people go, okay, we have to turn the page. We have to move on. There are people in our company of employee that are diehard MAGA red hat Trump supporters. I'm not going to name them all. I'm not going to go out and do all this public.
No, of course not.
But you and I know who we're talking about. There's there's a couple of handfuls of people that we could talk about who are absolutely drunk the Kool-Aid pro-Trump guys, and that's fine. Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's got a right to do that. After what happened last night, I'm sure this piling on is a 1-2 punch, but especially after what Trump did last night, I'm hearing from a lot of those people within our company that are going, okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore.
Look, I mean, I think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see that quite a bit. In fact, Adam Baldwin and I do the Amiable Skeptics thing. We do 2 episodes a week, right?
We
released.
I am dying to know what Adam thinks since yesterday.
Well, we recorded it on Wednesday.
I know.
So when you get to the 2024 discussion on Monday, it will be as of Wednesday. This is before the attack on DeSantis. Well, the sanctimonious thing does come up because it had already taken place at the rally.
It was unnecessary. It was unseemly.
Yeah.
But it was more of just a drive-by. Last night was a declaration of war.
But I mean, I think that, this is a move on sort of incident, right? I mean, I think that the party was already leaning in that direction anyway. And, I think Mark Levin had some good points to say about other leadership in the Republican Party. I don't think anybody's going to come out of this looking good either. But the fact is that you endorse candidates in primaries so that you can claim to have the mantle of party leadership when the general elections are done. And if your candidates don't come through, well, that's a bet that you've lost, and the markers will get called in. So it's not, I mean, it's not illegitimate to make that criticism, along with other criticisms too. And I think that there's a mix of things that went wrong in this midterm. Donald Trump is, I think, one of them, but he's not hardly the only one. However, on the basis of what's gone on the last 2 days, he's guys like Mitch McConnell are probably breathing a little easier because he's taking the heat off of them. Donald Trump is basically taking ownership of the fallout from this midterm, not necessarily explicitly, but just, practically speaking, it's all going to fall on him. And look, again, I want to move on to a couple of other subjects because once again, we've made him the center of politics. And I think that's part of the issue too.
Well, this is true, but what I'm hopeful of by making it the center of politics, this is like the supernova burning out. It's the brightest it gets before it finally goes out. And
he's got a lot of money, so that supernova is going to go on for a very long time, man. And I honestly think that after this, the best thing to do is just not to give the guy a lot of oxygen. I think that that's the best thing to do. So I guess if you're trying to win a news cycle, he at least did that. It's a rather Pyrrhic victory, I think, and I think it's going to drive off a lot of his support.
But again, how many people do you think that just won over to a potential campaign in the primary? How many new voters?
Nobody.
How many new voters in a Republican primary did he win by his stunt the last 2 days?
Nobody. I don't think I think all it does is it confirms among the hardcore of his base that they're going to stand by him, because they're going to form a circle the wagons around him no matter what, but everybody else is going to walk away. So then the only way he wins in a primary is if all of his only Trumpers vote for him, along with Democrats crossing lines because they know he's toxic and they're going to try and do an Operation Chaos again. That's the only way he wins a primary, right? Because women Republican voters aren't going to vote for him, and moderate Republicans aren't going to vote for him, and conservatives are going to split off from him as well. Conservatives are going to go for DeSantis or whoever else is in. This is totally speculative. We don't even know at this point if he's actually going to get in, although it certainly seems that way. But honestly, let's move on. Everybody just move on, because there's another couple of interesting stories that we want to get to. One of which is the fact that a federal judge shot down Joe Biden's student loan debt forgiveness program, and not just shot it down with a temporary injunction. He jumped all the way to finding on the merits and issuing I think it's pronounced vacatur, saying basically this program is over. It's unlawful, and it's an
ex-parrot.
It's an ex-parrot. It is no more.
It has ceased to be.
I saw this last night. I thought, oh, we got a TRO. That's good, because we needed a TRO to stop this, right? To make sure that the funds didn't get paid out. And I start reading through the decision. It's like, wait a minute, this is on the merits. Oh, this is going to be good.
Yeah, no, it's like with impunity, saying, get out of here with this. You can't do this, and you can't do this. Now they're going to get the benefit. They're going to benefit out of it already, though. He got the political benefit out of it, which is all he wanted. Right. Yeah, that's it. They knew that this thing was going to get tossed out. They just wanted to get it for the midterms. They wanted to goose turnout among young voters, and right now apparently they didn't. No, in some pockets they did. Well, they didn't get the youth vote turnout that they thought that they were getting. As it turns out, pun not intended, the youth vote, that youth wave never really materialized. David Strom had a piece on it this morning. We'll see more too as
as more polls get taken and more ballots come in. But right now, it doesn't look like they goosed it a lot. It may have been enough, but they didn't goose it a lot. But yeah, they're going to appeal this. But, this thing's in Texas, which means that the next level up is the Fifth Circuit, which has been very, very skeptical to the point of cynicism about executive orders from presidents.
They're gonna appeal it to the Fifth Circuit, who is not gonna take it, and then their next stop is to appeal it to the Supremes. And I mean, even if Justice Jackson decided to pick it up, or somebody wanted to pick it up,
I forget who's got the Fifth Circuit. I don't think it's Justice Jackson. I think it's one of the conservatives.
I think it may be Alito, actually. I'm not sure who it is, but
possibly.
But even if it was one of the liberals on the court that oversaw the Fifth Circuit and wanted to do it, trying to find 4 others that want to take a look at it, they're not going to find it.
Well, even if they did, so it takes time to move up the appeal chain. I mean, there's no pressing time frame on this. So you can't say we need to expedite this because there's some irreparable harm that's going to happen if this thing isn't overturned. I mean, this is debt forgiveness that didn't exist prior to this program, and it wasn't, it's not an emergency, in other words. The Fifth Circuit is not going to take it. The Fifth Circuit's almost certainly not going to take it, even on the standing issue, which I grant it was very clever. Judge Mark Pittman was very, very clever in this, which was that the Department of Education, I think, was the defendant in this, or respondent, really, is the proper term, although Pittman uses defendant. Right. Was saying that they didn't have standing. No individual could actually have standing under this because no individual is harmed by this program, blah, 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 blah. And Pittman used the APA claim to find standing, which is that they didn't give these particular plaintiffs time to respond to this proposed rule change and work out how they saw themselves being disadvantaged through it. And so therefore they have standing. I think that that's probably the weakest part of this decision and might be overturned. However, by the time it gets overturned, I think it's pretty clear we're going to have a Republican House of Representatives. They're going to file a lawsuit, maybe first day or second day, against the bailout. And there's no doubt about their standing in this. Biden usurped their exclusive Article 1 authority for appropriations. And there's no doubt about standing in this case, in that case. So even if the Fifth Circuit overturns the standing decision and remands it back to Pittman, who would then just issue a TRO while they're working through that stuff, or if the Supreme Court did the same thing, by the time we even got to that stage, the House of Representatives are going to have a lawsuit filed almost too sweet in the DC circuit. And the standing issue isn't going to matter because they're going to absolutely have standing to file it. And then, of course, all the unconstitutional things that Pittman lays out here will come into play again. This thing's dead. In other words, it's not coming back.
It's not coming back. No. And again, we knew it. It would have been nice if that decision got dropped last week instead of this week, but you take what you can get. And I'm happy that this thing got halted before Biden really got underway with this, because this, even beyond the politics of this, is really constitutionally dangerous. This is, well, one is constitutionally dangerous. Two, it would cost $500 billion that we don't have.
Right, that we don't have. By the way, did you notice the line in there about not being ruled by an individual with a pen and a phone at the very end?
Yes.
It's absolutely delicious. I love that. Nice little swipe at Barack Obama on the way out. We're not ruled by somebody with a pen and a phone. We're a constitutional republic with separations of powers to, protect.
We have a body of 435 people that are supposed to write the laws.
Yeah. I like that. All right. next story and the last story today, because we've kind of covered the midterms as part of the whole Trump thing. The Ukrainians took Kherson today.
I'm seeing reports. I'm seeing reports that in most places in the south of Ukraine, that Russians have fled virtually all of southern Ukraine.
Yeah, I mean, they had announced a few days ago. I think it was on the 9th. So 2 days ago, they had announced that they were going to pull out of Kherson and fall back in order.
And the Russian administrator of Kherson, Putin's appointee to kind of oversee that phase of the campaign of the theater.
Yeah,
he just died in a car accident.
In a mysterious accident. Yes, actually, I'm not sure he's dead yet. I think that he's dead, but they have. I don't know that they've actually confirmed that he's dead, but he's out of the way in some way, shape, or form. And supposedly a car accident. I thought maybe it was another window failure, but
yeah, I didn't know they had cars up on the parking garage four floors up.
Yeah, on the 6th floor of the parking garage, his car window failed. This is a huge deal. I mean, Kherson was one of their main objectives of this.
That is the bridge. I mean,
that's the land bridge into Crimea.
They just blew a bridge up, just on their way out for spite. But I mean, it was the literal and physical bridge to Crimea.
Yeah, I mean, this is that's the Kerch Bridge that they attacked. They didn't blow it up entirely, but it's not usable for large scale resupply at the moment. They're going to have to. It's going to take months to repair that. My guess is that Ukraine's going to go after it again.
So if Kherson is no longer under Russian occupation, they can't hold Crimea.
Well, they've got forces in Crimea, and don't forget they've got a naval base there. But
they do, but they're going to have a hard time holding that over time.
And that's Crimea is where the attacks on the Ukrainian power grid have been originating from. They're flying drones out of Crimea, basically from Iran. These are Iranian drones that they've been flying against.
But I'm thinking not much. I'm thinking not much longer.
Because they're not going to be able to get them in there.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they had to pull the ships out of Sevastopol, at least temporarily, because the Ukrainians were using drones to damage the Black Sea fleet that is based there. So they're not going to resupply by sea. They're not going to resupply by land, and they're not going to resupply by air. They're essentially going to cut Crimea off. Now, it's not completely cut off. Kherson is the main ground line of communication for Crimea. There are probably other alternate routes that they're using south of Kherson, but those aren't going to last long either if the Russian forces have pulled back to the eastern bank of the Dnipro River, which is what they are doing. And supposedly they're doing it in order rather than the route that took place in Kharkiv, which was the reason why they finally ordered the retreat out of Kherson, because they can't afford to lose those units. Those units are the most effective, most trained units that they have. They were put in that Kherson Oblast because that was the most important objective of the war. and they lost it. They're having to retreat from it. And Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov was saying, this isn't an embarrassment for Vladimir Putin. Of course it's an embarrassment for Vladimir Putin. He just lost his most critical war objective.
They lost the objective. They've lost what? I mean, I think I heard Jake Sullivan this week say that the estimates are that Russians have lost 100,000 of their military thus far in this campaign.
Yeah, was that Milley? Was that Milley that said that?
No, I think it was Jake Sullivan.
Was it Jake Sullivan? Well, I think Mark Milley also said the same thing.
I'm sure they're working off the same,
working off the same sheet. Well, and the UK Defense Ministry is issuing similar numbers. ISW is now saying that there's not going to be a winter ceasefire because Ukraine's got the initiative and they've got no incentives for a ceasefire. This is going to look a little bit like a lightweight Stalingrad unless they can pull the rest of those forces out of Ukraine. These guys are about to get shredded in the winter because they can't move. I
mean, just since last weekend, there are stats that, Russia's lost, 6 tanks, 19 APVs, 7 drones, at least 7 drones. I mean, they're getting whacked.
Yeah, they're getting their butts kicked. This, to me, I think, if there's going to be a settlement of this, it's going to have to come pretty soon. Putin's going to have to throw in the towel and try to get back to status quo ante, which is holding Crimea and allowing his
And that's going to be
proxies in Luhansk and Donetsk to continue to operate as autonomous zones there.
And you see, that's going to be the catch. Is Zelensky is saying, I'm not even willing to sit down and talk until he's out of Crimea.
Yeah, no, out of Ukraine entirely,
all of Ukraine, all of it.
Yeah. He'll enter into peace talks with him as soon as the Russians evacuate out of Ukraine entirely. That's
I think he could moderate off of that, and maybe Donetsk and the other one. I'm sure he could probably Luhansk. Yeah. I'm sure that could be negotiated out and have some kind of a zone there that they could negotiate. But my guess is Zelensky wants Crimea, and if he gets Crimea back, he's a big winner, right?
Maybe. I still think Zelensky's got the Michael Collins problem.
He might,
which is
100% or nothing.
100% or nothing. If he negotiates Luhansk, Donetsk, Crimea,
but at this stage,
Russia, his own people are going to kill him.
but at this stage of the game, it's not wrong for him to go for all or nothing when all he's seeing is the back of Russian uniforms, right?
Yep. Yeah, I mean there's no reason at this point. He's got no incentive to sit down and talk because his forces
winning.
They have the momentum, they have the morale, they have the materiel, and they're about ready to slice and dice up the Russian footprint in southern Ukraine, and they've already pretty much done that with Crimea. Now they've just about isolated Crimea effectively, at least. And I think that's going to be I don't think that they're going to be pushing towards the Russian border. I think the next move is to push the Russians up into the Black Sea so that they can stop the attacks on the power grid. This is sort of like, if you want another historical analogy, this is sort of like the status in the late fall of 1944, when the Allies had to redirect forces to attack the V-2 launching sites in the Low Countries rather than continue to push into Germany, with Patton's forces further to the south, because the V2s were starting to really find their targets in England, and they needed to stop that. So that's probably what Zelensky's next move is secure Kherson, expand that footprint out over the next few weeks, and then sometime in the winter, turn the attention to Crimea and just push the Russians into the Black Sea. And, if he's able to stop those lines of communication, it may not be that difficult. Those forces might end up getting starved out. And so, yeah, this is a very big story today, and it's probably not going to get as much attention as it should, but it is a very big story today, and I hope it gets more attention than I think it's going to get.
Agreed. And may it progress. May Russia still continue to collapse. That's better for the world if they continue to do so.
Yep. Slava Ukraini. All right, Duane Journalissimo Patterson. You guys have had a great run this week on the Hugh Hewitt Show. What's coming up next for you on Monday?
Monday, we're hopeful to finally have a resolution, one way or the other, at least in Nevada. I saw a call just in the last half an hour, Decision Desk, I think. Dave Wasserman over at Cook, right? Redistrict. Dave Wasserman?
Yeah.
I think he's Cook, right?
No, he might be Cook. Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's Cook. Yes.
Yeah, I think he's Cook. They called the Arizona Senate race. There's just not enough votes out that they'd have to break whatever is left out in Arizona that hasn't been counted. They'd have to break 85-15 for Blake Masters, and
that one was always a reach. I mean, he was down like 4 or 5 points,
And every time they kept saying, "Well, you just wait till this next batch that comes in. We're going to close that gap." And every batch that has come in, his gap's gotten bigger. It ain't happening. And Carrie Lake, she's still down 27,000. And they're running out of votes to count. I mean, there's still some to do there, and there will be over the weekend, but I have yet to see the big batch of vote coming in that she's up 75-25 over Katie Hobbs. I think by the time we get to Monday, we're going to have a better landscape of what we're looking at. Hopefully we will have enough momentum to be able to call and confirm that Kevin McCarthy is going to at least hold the House. We think he's going to get there, but it would be nice to know that for sure.
Yeah, I think that what I'm looking at right now, you're looking at probably a base of 220.
I'm 222 is kind of where I'm thinking.
You missed my Mr. Mom joke.
I got the Mr. Mom.
220, 221, whatever it takes. Come on, man.
Yeah, I got you.
Try to stay with me here. Come on, let's keep up. So that's coming up on Monday's show, 6 a.m. Eastern time, 5 a.m. on God's time zone, 3 a.m. on the left coast. If you're a member of the Universe, HUGHNIBERSE.com, the troll-free web surfing experience, you can watch that show and watch Hugh and Duane live as they do it. If not, you can be on the AM radio dial. Duane, what should people do if they can't find the show on the AM radio dial?
Well, it's very clear. You go into a general manager's office and you sit down and you say, "I see you still have not put on the Hugh Hewitt Show. And if you do not do so right now, this guy right here is Donald Trump, and he will sit here and he will make ethnic Asian jokes about your name and lineage until you relent and put us on the air." How about them apples?
That was actually going to be sort of the thrust of mine, but I'll go to my fallback position. I think you hired Dmitry Peskov to say, "Of course, Hugh Hewitt is on our AM radio dial."
Full Baghdad Ivan, right?
Baghdad Dimitri. There you go. That's you have to go that route. Of course, you can just go to HughHewitt.com, listen to the audio stream there, which is probably a hell of a lot easier. Just saying. All right, Duane Generalissimo Patterson at Radio Blogger on Twitter. Thanks for being with us this week.
My pleasure.
All right, stay tuned for one last message from the Ed Morrissey Show coming up next. Hi, folks. It's Ed Morrissey. One more time, I just want to get this in on Election Day. This is VIP week. We've got a lot of great stuff going on in VIP. We have the Amiable Skeptics with Adam Baldwin, which is a great video series, and we do have one episode in the clear. We posted it yesterday afternoon, so if you look for the Amiable Skeptics, you'll get a chance to sit and watch what you haven't been able to see before because it's been behind the paywall. Adam Baldwin, actor from Firefly, from Chuck, from Full Metal Jacket, started off in My Bodyguards, friend of mine. He's incredibly intelligent. He is very passionate and very amiable. And so we have great discussions every week and about different topics, usually tied to current events. This week's episode, the one that's in the clear, is about the midterms. You're going to definitely want to get Adam's perspective on the midterms and how they are the mama bear midterms, which I think is a great way to describe this. That's yesterday in VIP. You don't have to be a VIP member to watch that particular episode, but if you join the VIP and VIP Gold Members Club, you will get a chance to see all of the episodes. You can go back and watch our previous episodes as well as the ones that are coming on. You get a chance to read Duane Patterson. You get a chance to read Tom Jackson out of Tampa, Florida, who's a longtime reporter and columnist who's giving us exclusive insights into what's happening in Florida, which is key for this cycle and the next. So you're definitely going to want to read that. You're going to also get VIP content from David Strom, from myself, from Jazz Shaw. Other Town Hall Media writers have chimed in. Sam J did a VIP post for us yesterday. And, of course, a VIP Gold Chat with Cam Edwards every Wednesday afternoon. We're going to be doing that tomorrow as well. That will also be in the clear so people get a chance to see what it is that they're missing. And then after that, it's back behind the paywall. So this week only, you can sign up and save 45%. It's our best discount ever, 45%, by putting in the promo code VIP Week, all caps, all one word, VIP Week, and join our VIP and VIP Gold membership clubs. It's what allows us to make sure that we are not going to come under the thumb of big tech and advertisers and the DHS's attempts to moderate and manipulate public debate and dissent. It's what keeps us independent. It's what keeps us working with you to make sure that America remains free and independent. So VIP Week is the promo code, 45% off this week only. Be sure to sign up. Thank you very much, and thanks for watching The Ed Morrissey Show.